Okay, so on the previous video, we configured our client side of the house. So R2 right now is fully configured. It's ready to establish the PPPoE connection to the other side, R1. Now let's jump into R1 and finish the configuration on R1. And we should see by end of the configuration that we have PPPoE established in a healthy manner. So let's just jump in there. Let me switch my screening, my recording screen. Now, here on the server side, the configuration is a little bit more complex than the client side. On the client side, we had only the dialer. So there were two pieces, two main pieces, the dialer configuration, and then um, tying the dialer configuration somehow logically to the physical interface. That physical interface and the let's say that the mediator between the two, the glue between the two, was a dialer pool. On the server side, though, the configuration is a little bit more complex. We have to create first a BBA group and then the virtual template, and then tie the virtual template to the BBA group, and also to tie the BBA group to our physical interface. I'm sorry, and then we will be ready to accept the client-side dialer PPPoE messages and establish the connectivity. So let's do that. On the PPPoE server, so before we do that, we have to we have to perform two important tasks here to make sure that we have all the prerequisites to provide to the client side. One of them is, if you remember, on the client side, what we did for authentication piece was show run. Let me show you show run section user. On the client side, we defined on the dialer level, at the dialer level, that the I'm going to if you ask me to be authenticated by PAP, this is going to be my username, and this is going to be my password that I'm going to present it to you. Now R1 doesn't have anything to compare that input from R2, so let's create this input for him. So configuration mode, username, user1, password Cisco1. Now on the other side as well, if I go show run interface dialer 1, here we said IP address negotiated. So as I told you on the previous video, we are going to have local pool on the server side to assign IP address to the client side. So we have to create that local pool first. So I would put IP local pool. The name of my pool will be, let's say, my pool 1, and then enter. I'm sorry, and then the first IP address of the pool. So let's just quickly jump into our diagram here as a reference that what IP address space we have assigned for that. Okay, so we have 1212/16. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to say, okay, you assign your first IP from 1212.0.0, let's say 10 from 1212.0.15. That's going to be your IP address range for this pool. Now, in a high level, the main difference between local IP address pool in a router and a DHCP server is that all the fancy options that you have for DHCP server, like lease time and options, DHCP options, you don't have it here. It's just plain IP address range in the local pool. That makes it actually so simple and convenient for lab purposes, or also for a production environment that doesn't really need DHCP server. Okay, so now we have met two prerequisites that we had on the server. So we have defined our username and password. We have defined our local pool. Now let's jump into the configuration part for BBA group. So we say BBA group PPPoE. Let's call it my lab. And then here I would say virtual template one, enter. That's it. So there are other options that I can put here, but just for the sake of this lab and uh, actually for the sake of the exam, you don't need more. You don't need to dive into more. So you just have to create virtual template within your BBA group. Now, what happens is that I will go out of the BBA group configuration level, and then I will go to interface virtual template one. Now, all the meat and potato of the configuration is going to be here. So I would say, first of all, what is my IP address? Again, you can assign the IP address here by different methods, but for the sake of simplicity, we would just have 12, 12. We will do it statically. 12, 12, 0. Let's say 1, 255, 255, 255. I'm sorry, 0, 0. Okay, that's going to be my IP address here. What else? So you don't have to put encapsulation PPP because by default, virtual template within the BBA group, the encapsulation is PPP. But we will put it anyway. We don't have to again change the IPM2. It's automatically adjusted to include the to include the overhead size for the PPOE header. So let's do a quick overview on our virtual template. So do show run interface virtual template one. What we have here is just the IP address. Okay, so we say PPP authentication app. Um, so we assign the IP address, and now we have to also configure here that how we are going to assign IP address for the peer on the other side, because I am the server, that's the client. So I would say peer default IP address pool. What was the pool IP pool I created? My pool number one. Let's see what we have here. We have our virtual template one, IP address is assigned, authentication is assigned, method is assigned, and then also the method of providing IP address to the peer. What else here is needed? I don't think we are missing anything. Uh, yeah, okay, so let's go to our interface gig 00. We again say that I don't want to have any IP address assigned to this interface on the physical level. And then I would put PPOE enable group. And what was the name of my BBA group? It was, I think, my lab. Yes, my lab, all capital. And okay, now I'm not going to do a no shot here. I'm going to start some packet capture on the GNS level to see what is really going on, to show you what is really going on. So I'm setting up the packet capture, and we will continue the demo on the next video.